Hello everyone, welcome to Lockdown Sees the World. Today we talk about Dr. Kissinger's dissertation and how it influenced his future foreign policy making. Former U.S. State Secretary Henry Kissinger is a very well-known figure in the world, and his secret visit to China in 1971 paved the way for Nixon's visit to Beijing in 1972 and the Sino-U.S. foreign relations in 1979. His shuttle diplomacy on the world stage and his foreign policy decision tremendously enhanced U.S. hegemony and global interests. His success as a diplomat and international relations scholar was closely related to his dissertation at Harvard University. Kissinger was born in 1923 in a Jewish family. To escape from Nazi's persecution, he came to America with his parents in 1939. Later, he joined in U.S. Army in the Second World War and served as collecting military information. After the war, he enrolled in Harvard University, and when he graduated, he presented a 375-page thesis for his bachelor degree. He got a grade A for his paper, yet his paper was too long, and since then, Harvard University regulated that any bachelor degree student could not surpass 1/3 of the length of Kissinger's thesis paper. In 1954, Kissinger finished his PhD degree with a dissertation named as A World Restored, Metternich, Castlereagh, and the Problem of Peace, as 1812 to 1822, mainly about Napoleon's failure in his aggression to Russia in 1812 and his defeat at Waterloo in 1815, the collapse of the Napoleon Empire, restoration of a Bourbon dynasty, and how to deal with the defeated France, how to maintain power balance and concert over Europe among big powers such as Austria, Prussia, and Russia. In 1814 to 1815, the negotiations were held at Vienna, the capital of Austria, and established the Vienna system, which preserved the peace for almost 100 years for Europe, until the outbreak of First World War in 1914 and replaced with the new system of Versailles. During Congress Vienna in 1814 to 1815, two most influential figures were Metternich and Castlereagh. Metternich was the chancellor and foreign minister of Austria-Hungary Empire, a famous diplomat whose priority was to keep the power balance in Europe and maintain Austria as a mediator and a big power. Castlereagh was a foreign secretary of Britain. As an island country, Britain had been advocating a coalition in Europe against its major opponent, France, to keep the balance and check among France, Austria, Prussia, Russia, or any one predominance in Europe, prevent a possible threat to its interests on the continent and around the world. Castlereagh also played a key role in the negotiation at Vienna. Kissinger's dissertation mainly focused on two figures, Metternich and Castlereagh, and how their shuttle diplomacy and secret negotiation went. For defeated France, its territorial size shrunk and its forces and influences faded away from Spain, Italy, Holland, and the German Confederate. Yet the defeated France was still a big power, and its foreign minister Talleyrand maneuvered to minimize the loss of France. After the Congress of Vienna, France reconciled with other big powers and became one of the concert of Europe. Austria-Hungary Empire lies in Central Europe and composed of many different nations, such as Austria, Hungary, Czech, north part of Italy, and Slavs on Balkans Peninsula. The ruling monarchies of the empire were rather conservative, suppressed to the ideology of nationalism and minority autonomy, preventing the breakup of the empire. Its military power was not so strong as France in the West, weaker than the northern bellicose Prussia and the future Germany. The east side of Austria was the aggressive Russia. So Austria's foreign policy was to maintain the power balance among these big powers, balance and check to avoid any major dominance like Napoleon Empire before. And at the same time, use France to counterbalance the rising Prussia. Austria and Prussia were both German, speaking the same language. Even the Second World War Adolf Hitler was born in Linz, north of Austria. At that time, Austria tried to overtake Prussia in the German Confederate and also make Prussia a force against France in the west and Russia in the east. Russia is a traditional big power in Eastern Europe and played a key role in the war against Napoleon. Tsar Alexander I is entered Paris with his army and forced Napoleon to abdicate. Austria and Russia conflicted on Eastern Europe and the Slavs. At the bargain, Austria needed Russia as a force against Prussia and France. It also needed France and Prussia to balance Russia. The geographic position and the limited military power made Austria taking balanced policy among powers as a mediator for all the clashes, maintaining the concert of Europe, averting revolution and war, guaranteeing the maximum of Austria's national interests. And Metternich, as the chancellor and foreign minister of Austria, was the chosen one for this mission. The Congress of Vienna and the Sisters followed kept peace in Europe for almost 100 years until the First World War. Kissinger did exhaustive research this period of history, which paved the way for his diplomatic career in the future. As seen in China, history is the best teacher, and it can show you the ups and downs. In 1969, Nixon won the election, and Kissinger was appointed as a security advisor of the president. And they too held the same view on the international situation. In 1969, America was balked in Vietnam War and domestic civil rights protests, defensive and global confrontations with the Soviet. During the Cold War after 1945, there emerged two blocks of the Western Free World led by America and the Eastern Socialist countries led by the Soviet Union. After 1949, and China joined in Socialist bloc, only 10 years passed. China and the Soviet were at odds. And after another 10 years, in 1969, Sino-USSR relations worsened with border clashes occurred and with war imminent. The breakup between China and the Soviet brought new possibilities for U.S. foreign policies, especially about China. Kissinger grasped this historical opportunity, taking advantage of China's force to paint the Soviet Union in dilemma between the East and the West, keeping upper hand to Moscow in a strategic triangle among America, Russia, and China, forcing Moscow to give up in their bargain and maintain U.S. global interests. The five major forces at that time were America and the Soviet, China, Europe, and Japan, which was very similar to the five big powers after Napoleon Empire in Europe: Britain, France, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Though with the span of 150 years of back and forth between the Vienna system in 1815 and the Yalta system after the Cold War, the major concerns still remain the same as how to negotiate for neutrality or alliance, keep balance among the big powers, and maximum of his own national interests. In his dissertation, Kissinger observed the diplomacy and negotiation intrigues for Metternich and Castlereagh. In his future career, when facing the complexity and uncertainty of the world affairs, he learned to be oriented and flexible on certain issues, make great use of U.S. leverage and its personal diplomatic talents. In November 2023, at the age of 100, Kissinger passed away. He's a life of legend. He had been to China for over 100 times as one of the old friends of Chinese people. Compare today's scenario with what of Nixon and Kissinger time is 50 years ago. Some still resemble, yet some changed already. America is the sole superpower left after the Cold War, yet it declines with its national power and influences. The Soviet Union collapsed, but Russia still, as a formidable military, stands against the American and NATO. China develops rapidly and constitutes a major threat in U.S. perspective. Europe and Japan are still U.S. allies, with India and Iran grew to be new regional big powers. Under the pressure and confrontations of America, China, Russia, and Iran, they got closer as a strategic cooperative partners. That's a real challenge to U.S. predominance in the world. 2024 is another election year for America. No matter who wins in the end, and Trump, the Republicans, or Biden, the Democrats, Washington still needs a foreign policy maker like Kissinger, with big vision, strategy, and flexibility to make the missions feasible. Maintain power balance, prevent other possible military coalition, avoid to confront with China and Russia simultaneously, find a solution for the Russo-Ukraine war and the Taiwan issue, secure U.S. global interests. The Kissinger's dissertation helped tremendously for his future diplomacy, and what he had achieved in the past is still a great guideline for today's U.S. foreign policies. Here comes the end of today's program, and thank you for your watching, and see you next time. Thank you, bye.